right now, and society doesn't quite know how to handle it. More women over 40 are choosing to live alone, without a man, and they're not just surviving, they're thriving, they're building lives filled with purpose, peace, and profound satisfaction. But here's what makes this so interesting. The world keeps telling them something is wrong. Family members whisper concerns. Friends ask intrusive questions. Strangers offer unsolicited pity. Society has been conditioned to believe that a woman without a man is somehow incomplete, somehow failing at life's most important assignment. But what if everything we've been taught about women, relationships, and happiness is fundamentally flawed? What if the women living alone aren't the ones missing out? What if they've discovered something the rest of us haven't quite figured out yet? Today, we're going to explore the psychology, the statistics, the brutal truths, and the beautiful realities of older women who live alone without a man. This isn't about man-hating. This isn't about bitterness or failure. This is about understanding a phenomenon that challenges everything our culture has told us about what women need to be happy. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover might completely shift your perspective on independence, relationships, and what it truly means to live a fulfilling life. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, this is where we dive deep into the psychology of relationships, human behavior, and the truths that most people are too uncomfortable to discuss. Before we get started, I want to ask you for a small favor. If this video provides you with valuable insights, please hit that like button. It genuinely helps more people discover this content. Drop a comment below sharing your thoughts or experiences. Your perspective matters, and it creates a community where we can all learn from each other. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our content. For those who really want to support the work we do here, there's a super thanks button below this video. Your support allows us to continue creating in-depth, research-based content that challenges conventional thinking and provides real psychological insights. Now, let's get into today's topic. The image of the older single woman living alone has been painted in dark colors throughout history. The spinster, the cat lady, the woman who couldn't keep a man, the bitter divorcee, the lonely widow. Our cultural mythology is filled with cautionary tales about women who end up alone, as if solitude itself is a punishment, a failure, a tragedy to be avoided at all costs. But when we actually look at the research, when we talk to these women, when we examine their lives with honest eyes, we discover something remarkable, something that contradicts nearly everything our society has taught us. Many of these women are happier, healthier, more financially stable, and more emotionally fulfilled than their married counterparts. This isn't an opinion. This isn't an agenda. These are documented findings from psychological research, sociological studies, and extensive interviews with women who have chosen or found themselves living this life. So why does society work so hard to convince us otherwise? Why is there so much stigma, so much judgment, so much concern directed at women who live independently? The answers reveal uncomfortable truths about how our culture views women, relationships, and the very purpose of a woman's existence. The stigma and where it comes from. Let's start by acknowledging the elephant in the room. There is a massive stigma attached to older women who live alone. It's not subtle, it's not imaginary, it's everywhere. At family gatherings, during holidays, in casual conversations, through media representations, in the questions people ask and the assumptions they make. This stigma runs deep, and it's rooted in ancient beliefs about women's roles and purpose. For thousands of years across virtually every culture, a woman's value was measured primarily through her relationships with men. First as a daughter, then as a wife, then as a mother, and even in widowhood, Her identity was defined by the man she had been married to. A woman without these connections was seen as incomplete, as having failed to fulfill her biological and social destiny. Even today, despite enormous progress in gender equality, these ancient beliefs still echo through our collective consciousness. The stigma operates on multiple levels. On the surface, it manifests as concern. Family members worry. Friends express sympathy. People ask probing questions disguised as care. Are you okay? Are you lonely? Have you tried dating apps? You're too beautiful to be alone. There's someone out there for everyone. You just haven't met the right person yet. These comments, while often well-intentioned, carry an underlying message. The message is that being alone is a problem that needs solving, that independence is a temporary state, an unfortunate situation, something to be remedied as quickly as possible. The assumption is that no woman would choose this life if she had better options. Beneath the surface concern lies something darker. There's judgment, there's speculation. People wonder what's wrong with her. They construct narratives. She must be too picky. She must be difficult. She probably has commitment issues. She's bitter from a bad divorce. She let herself go. She focused too much on her career. She must have trust issues. She's afraid of intimacy. The list of explanations goes on, but they all share one common thread. They all assume that living alone is a failure state, and therefore, there must be a flaw in the woman to explain why she ended up this way. The possibility that she might have deliberately chosen this life, that she might prefer it, that she might be genuinely happy, doesn't even enter the equation for most people. It's too threatening to the established narrative. The stigma is reinforced constantly through media and cultural messaging. Think about how single women over 40 are portrayed in movies and television. They're usually one of several stereotypes: the desperate woman looking for love, the bitter divorcee who hates men, the workaholic who sacrificed personal life for career success and now regrets it, the eccentric cat lady, the lonely widow, the pathetic figure at family gatherings who everyone pities. Even when single women are portrayed positively, the story almost always ends with them finding a man, as if that's the resolution, the happy ending, the completion of their character arc. The message is clear. A woman's story isn't complete without a romantic partner. This cultural conditioning starts early. Little girls are raised on fairy tales where the princess is saved by the prince, where true love's kiss breaks the spell, where getting married is the ultimate happy ending. As girls grow into women, the messaging continues. Date in high school, find a serious boyfriend in college, get engaged in your 20s, marry by 30, have children, build a family. This is presented as the natural progression, the normal path, the way life is supposed to unfold. Women who deviate from this script are seen as anomalies, as having taken a wrong turn somewhere along the way. The pressure is particularly intense on women as they age. Society has always been more forgiving of young single women. There's a grace period in your 20s where being single is acceptable, even encouraged. You're young, you're figuring things out, you're having fun. But as women approach 30, the pressure intensifies. The questions become more frequent and more urgent. By 40, if a woman is still single, the concern reaches a fever pitch. By 50, people often give up asking questions and simply offer quiet pity. The assumption is that the window has closed, the ship has sailed, and this woman will now live out her remaining years in unfortunate solitude. What makes this stigma particularly insidious is how it's internalized by women themselves. Even women who are perfectly happy living alone often struggle with shame, with feeling like they should want a relationship, with questioning whether something is wrong with them for being content with their independence. They attend therapy wondering if they have attachment issues. They second-guess their choices. They feel defensive when asked about their relationship status. This internal conflict isn't because there's actually anything wrong with their choice. It's because they've absorbed decades of messaging telling them that their life is incomplete without a man. The stigma also has a gendered double standard that's impossible to ignore. Older single men are not subjected to the same scrutiny, the same pity, the same concern. A 50-year-old single man is a bachelor. He's independent. He's playing the field. He's focused on his career. He's enjoying his freedom. There might be some gentle ribbing about when he's going to settle down, but there's not the same assumption that something is fundamentally wrong with him. There's not the same pity. There's not the same perception of failure. In fact, older single men are often seen as more desirable, more distinguished, more eligible. They have options. They have value. They're in their prime. The same cannot be said for how society views older single women. This double standard reveals the deeper truth about where the stigma comes from. It's rooted in patriarchal beliefs about women's purpose and value. In a patriarchal framework, women exist in relation to men. A woman's primary value is in the roles she plays for men, as a sexual partner, as a wife, as a mother to a man's children, as a caretaker, as a supporter. When a woman lives alone without a man, she's essentially declaring, either by choice or circumstance, that she doesn't need to fulfill these roles. She doesn't need to organize her life around a man's needs, preferences, or presence. This is threatening to a worldview that has always positioned men at the center and women in supporting roles. The stigma is also economically motivated, though this is rarely discussed openly. Throughout history, marriage has been an economic institution. It ensured the transfer of property, the combination of resources, the production and raising of the next generation of workers and inheritors. Women who live independently, who support themselves financially, who don't need a man's income or resources, represent a challenge to these economic structures. They prove that the system that insisted women needed men to survive was, at least partially, a lie. This economic independence is powerful, and power always threatens existing structures, religious and cultural. Traditions have also played a significant role in creating and maintaining the stigma. Many religions place marriage and family at the center of a virtuous life. They present partnership as a sacred duty, as God's plan for humanity. Remaining single, especially by choice, can be seen as going against divine will, as rejecting the path that leads to righteousness and fulfillment. In cultures with strong collectivist values, individual choices that deviate from the norm are seen as selfish, as putting personal desires above family and community expectations. A woman who chooses to live alone rather than partnering and producing children can be viewed as failing her obligations to her family line, her community, her culture. Understanding where the stigma comes from doesn't make it less painful for women who experience it, but it does provide context. It reveals that the judgment they face isn't actually about them as individuals. It's not about their worth, their desirability, their choices. It's about deeply embedded cultural beliefs, economic systems, religious traditions, and patriarchal structures that feel threatened by women who don't need men to survive and thrive. The stigma says more about the society creating it than it does about the women experiencing it. The reality, what research actually shows. Now let's look at what the actual research tells us about older women living alone. This is where things get really interesting, because the data contradicts almost everything the stigma would have us believe. Multiple studies across different countries and cultures have examined the happiness, health, and overall well-being of single women compared to married women, and the findings are surprising to anyone who has bought into the cultural narrative about women needing men to be happy. Research from the London School of Economics analyzed data from thousands of individuals and found that single women without children reported being happier than married women. Let that sink in for a moment. The demographic we're told to pity The women we're taught to see as unfortunate and incomplete are actually happier than their married counterparts. This isn't a fluke or an outlier. Multiple studies have found similar results. Single women consistently report higher levels of life satisfaction, greater sense of personal freedom, lower stress levels, and better overall mental health compared to married women. A comprehensive study published in the Journal of Women and Aging found that unmarried older women showed remarkable resilience and adaptability. They developed strong social networks, engaged in meaningful activities, maintained a sense of purpose, and reported high levels of life satisfaction. The researchers were looking for the loneliness and despair that cultural narratives had led them to expect. Instead, they found vibrant, connected, fulfilled women who had created rich lives for themselves. Health outcomes tell a similar story. Studies have shown that single women have fewer chronic health conditions than married women. They exercise more regularly. They maintain healthier diets. They're more likely to go to the doctor for preventative care. They have lower rates of depression and anxiety compared to married women. Some researchers have theorized that this is because women living alone prioritize their own health and well-being in ways that married women, who often take on the role of family caretaker, do not. When there's no one else to take care of, women take better care of themselves. Financial data also challenges the narrative. While it's true that single-income households have less total income than dual-income households, women living alone report less financial stress than married women. This might seem counterintuitive, but it makes sense when you examine the details. Women living alone have complete control over their finances. They make all spending decisions. They don't have to negotiate, compromise, or deal with a partner's different financial priorities or habits. Many married women report that money is one of the top sources of stress and conflict in their relationships. Women living alone don't have that particular stressor. Social connection is another area where the research surprises people. The stereotype of the lonely single woman doesn't match the reality. Studies show that single women maintain larger and more diverse social networks than married women. They have more friends. They see those friends more frequently. They're more likely to be involved in their communities, to volunteer, to participate in clubs and organizations, to maintain close relationships with family members beyond their immediate household. Married women, especially those with children, often see their social networks shrink. Their friendships become harder to maintain. Their time and energy are consumed by family obligations. Single women are free to invest in friendships, and they do. One of the most striking findings comes from research on widowhood. Studies have consistently shown that women adjust to widowhood far better than men adjust to becoming widowers. Women who lose their spouses report an initial period of grief, of course, but then they often describe a sense of liberation. They rediscover themselves. They pursue interests they had set aside. They make new friends. They travel. They take classes. They are more socially active than they were when married. Men who lose their wives, on the other hand, often struggle significantly. Their health declines. They become socially isolated. They have higher rates of depression and mortality in the years following their wife's death. This suggests that men benefit more from marriage than women do, at least in terms of health and well-being. Research on relationship satisfaction provides additional context. Studies repeatedly show that women are less satisfied in their marriages than men are. Women report doing more emotional labor, more household labor, and more childcare, even in dual-income households. They report feeling less appreciated, less supported, less understood by their partners. They're more likely to be the ones who initiate couples therapy and ultimately divorce. When researchers ask married women if they're happy in their marriages, a significant percentage say no. When those same women become single through divorce or widowhood, many report feeling relief, feeling like they can finally breathe, feeling like they've reclaimed themselves. This doesn't mean all marriages are bad or that all women would be happier single. There are many happy marriages where both partners feel fulfilled and supported. But the research makes it clear that marriage is not the universal key to women's happiness that our culture claims it is. For many women, marriage actually decreases their well-being. For many women, being single is not just an acceptable alternative, but actually the preferable state. One study that gained attention asked people to predict how happy they thought single women were compared to married women. Most people predicted that single women would be significantly less happy. When the actual happiness levels were measured, they found the opposite. This reveals the power of the cultural narrative. We've been so conditioned to believe that women need marriage to be happy, that we assume single women must be miserable, even when all the evidence points in the opposite direction. The research on older women, specifically women over 50 and over 60, is particularly illuminating. These are women who have lived enough life to know themselves, to have tried different paths, to have made conscious choices about how they want to live. The studies show that these women report high levels of contentment. They value their independence. They appreciate their freedom. They've crafted lives that reflect their values and priorities. They're not sitting at home waiting for a man to complete them. They're traveling, learning, creating, connecting, contributing. They're living full, meaningful lives. Research has also examined what predicts happiness in older single women. The findings are instructive. Happiness is not predicted by whether they've ever been married or how recently they've been in a relationship. It's predicted by financial security, strong social connections, good health, a sense of purpose, engagement in activities they find meaningful, and a positive mindset about their life circumstances. These are things women can cultivate independently. They don't require a romantic partner. One fascinating area of research looks at what's called relationship churning, which is the pattern of repeatedly breaking up and getting back together, or moving quickly from one relationship to another. Studies show that women who engage in relationship churning report lower well-being than women who remain single. The stress, drama, and emotional turbulence of unstable relationships takes a toll. Women who are single and content report higher well-being than women who are desperately seeking relationships or staying in unfulfilling ones. This suggests that the quality of one's relationship status, whether genuinely chosen and well-suited to one's needs, matters more than the mere presence or absence of a partner. Researchers have also looked at the reasons women give for living alone. Some women never married. Some are divorced. Some are widowed. Some chose singleness early in life. Some found themselves single after a long marriage ended. What's interesting is that regardless of the path that led them to living alone, the women who are happiest are those who have embraced their situation, who see value in it, who have built lives that work for them in their current circumstances. The women who struggle are those who see their singleness as temporary, as something to be fixed, as preventing them from living their real life. This connects to research on mindset and happiness. Studies show that people who accept their circumstances and find ways to thrive within them are happier than people who constantly fight against reality or wait for external circumstances to change before allowing themselves to be happy. Women who decide that being single is not just okay, but actually good, who lean into the benefits and opportunities it provides, who stop apologizing for or defending their life, are the ones who report the highest levels of satisfaction. The research also explodes the myth that women have a biological clock that drives them toward partnering and motherhood in ways that make singleness inherently unfulfilling. While it's true that many women desire children and find motherhood fulfilling, studies show that childless women are not less happy than mothers. In fact, some research suggests they're happier, reporting less stress, more free time, better relationships with their partners if they have them, and greater financial freedom. The narrative that women are biologically driven to sacrifice everything for children is not supported by research on women's actual reported happiness. All of this research paints a picture that is radically different from the cultural narrative. It shows that women living alone are not tragic figures to be pitied. They're not broken or defective. They're not desperately lonely and waiting to be rescued. Many of them are thriving. They're happy. They're healthy. They're connected. They're fulfilled. They've discovered that they don't need a man to have a good life. Some of them have discovered that they prefer life without one. The research doesn't support the stigma. It undermines it completely. Why some women thrive alone. So let's dig deeper into why some women not only survive, but actually thrive when living alone. What is it about this lifestyle that works so well for so many women? Understanding this helps us see singleness not as a deficit, but as a legitimate life path with unique benefits and opportunities. First, there's the freedom. This is perhaps the most obvious and most significant benefit. Women living alone have complete freedom over their time, their space, their choices, their lives. They can wake up when they want, eat what they want, watch what they want, go where they want, pursue whatever interests them without having to coordinate with another person. They don't have to negotiate, they don't have to compromise. They don't have to consider someone else's preferences, moods, schedules, or needs. This might sound selfish to people who have internalized the message that women should always put others first, but it's actually profoundly liberating. Think about all the small daily negotiations that happen in relationships. What to have for dinner, what to watch on television, how to spend the weekend, how to decorate the house, what temperature to set the thermostat, whether to go out or stay in, how to spend money, when to go to bed. These tiny negotiations add up. They require constant small compromises. Over time, many women find themselves living lives that don't fully reflect their own preferences because they've been compromising on thousands of small decisions. When you live alone, you get your preferences on everything. Your home looks exactly how you want it to look. Your schedule reflects your natural rhythms. Your life is wholly yours. For many women, this freedom extends to discovering who they actually are. Women are socialized to be accommodating, to be flexible, to adapt to others, to make others comfortable. Many women spend so much time being who their partners, parents, children, and society expect them to be that they lose touch with their authentic selves. Living alone provides space for self-discovery. Without the constant influence and expectations of a partner, women can explore their own interests, develop their own opinions, pursue their own passions. They can figure out who they are when they're not performing a role for someone else. Many women describe this process of self-discovery as revelatory. They realize they've been living on autopilot, following scripts written by others. They discover preferences they didn't know they had because they never had the space to explore them. They find passions that had been dormant. They develop aspects of themselves that had been suppressed. This journey of becoming more fully themselves is one of the most commonly cited benefits of living alone. It's a form of personal growth that's difficult to achieve when you're constantly adapting to a partner's presence and needs. Another key factor is the absence of emotional labor. This term refers to the work of managing emotions, both your own and others, and it's work that disproportionately falls to women in relationships. Women are expected to track birthdays and anniversaries, to notice when their partner is upset and draw them out, to manage social calendars, to remember What's happening in extended family members' lives? To maintain relationships with friends and family on behalf of the couple, to create a pleasant home atmosphere, to boost their partner's mood when they're down, to mediate conflicts, to anticipate needs, to provide emotional support and validation. This labor is invisible and often goes unappreciated, but it's exhausting. Women living alone don't have to perform this labor for a partner. They're responsible only for their own emotional well-being. They can choose when and how to support friends and family, but it's a choice rather than an obligation. Many women report that not having to manage another adult's emotions is an enormous relief. They have more energy. They feel less depleted. They can focus on their own inner lives without constantly monitoring someone else's. The absence of relationship stress is another significant factor. Even good relationships involve stress. Partners disagree. They have different communication styles. They hurt each other's feelings. They disappoint each other. They have different needs and wants that sometimes conflict. Managing all of this requires energy and effort. Bad or mediocre relationships involve even more stress. Conflict, criticism, lack of appreciation, unequal division of labor, different values, incompatible lifestyles, trust issues, communication breakdowns, and countless other problems create ongoing stress. Women in unhappy relationships often describe feeling like they're walking on eggshells, like they're constantly managing tension, like they can never fully relax. Women living alone don't have this stress. Their homes are peaceful. They control the energy and atmosphere. There's no one to argue with, no one to disappoint them, no relationship problems to solve. Financial autonomy is another key benefit. Women living alone have complete control over their finances. They decide how to spend, save, and invest their money. They don't have to justify purchases. They don't have to argue about financial priorities. They don't have to worry about a partner's spending habits, debt, or financial irresponsibility affecting their security. For women who have been in relationships where money was a source of conflict or control, this autonomy is powerful. It's not just about money, it's about having agency over one's life. Many women living alone report feeling safer than they did in relationships. This might surprise people who assume that having a man around provides protection and security, but statistics show that women are most likely to be harmed by intimate partners, not by strangers. Domestic violence, emotional abuse, controlling behavior, and other forms of harm happen within relationships. Women living alone don't have to worry about a partner's anger, a partner's potential for violence, a partner's drinking or drug use, a partner's mood swings, or any of the ways that living with another person can feel unsafe. They can lock their doors and know that they're truly safe in their own homes. The ability to prioritize self-care is another benefit women frequently mention. When you're responsible for caring for a partner, and possibly children, your own needs often get pushed to the bottom of the priority list. Many women in relationships describe feeling like they're giving all their time and energy to others with nothing left for themselves. They skip exercise, they don't eat well, they don't get enough sleep, they don't pursue hobbies, they don't schedule doctor's appointments. Their own well-being becomes an afterthought. Women living alone can prioritize themselves without guilt. They can structure their lives around their own health and happiness. They have time for exercise, healthy cooking, adequate sleep, hobbies, relaxation, and all the things that contribute to well-being. Social connections often improve when women live alone. This contradicts the lonely spinster stereotype, but it makes sense when you think about it. When you're in a relationship, especially a marriage, your partner often becomes your primary social connection. Couples do things together. They socialize as a unit. Individual friendships can fall by the wayside. Women living alone invest more in friendships. They make plans with friends regularly. They're available for spontaneous social activities. They're more present in their communities. They maintain diverse social networks that provide different types of connection and support. Rather than putting all their emotional eggs in one basket with a romantic partner, they distribute their social needs across multiple relationships, which creates more resilience. Many women describe feeling more present and engaged in their own lives when living alone. In relationships, it's easy to fall into patterns where you're going through the motions, living on autopilot, not fully conscious of your days because they blend together in routine. Living alone seems to heighten awareness. Women report savoring small pleasures more. They're more intentional about how they spend their time. They're more conscious of their choices. They feel more alive, more engaged, more like active authors of their lives rather than supporting characters in someone else's story. Creative and intellectual freedom is another benefit. Women living alone can pursue creative projects, intellectual interests, and personal passions without having to justify them or carve out time around someone else's needs. They can stay up late writing, painting, or learning. They can fill their homes with books, art supplies, musical instruments, or whatever feeds their creative spirit. They can think deeply, explore ideas, and develop their minds without interruption or judgment. For women with strong creative or intellectual drives, this freedom is invaluable. There's also what might be called spiritual freedom. Women living alone have space for spiritual practices, contemplation, self-reflection, and inner work. They can create sacred spaces in their homes. They can follow their own spiritual path without having to accommodate a partner's beliefs or lack thereof. They have silence and solitude for meditation, prayer, journaling, or whatever practices nurture their inner lives. For many women, this spiritual dimension of living alone is profound and deeply fulfilling. The ability to age on their own terms is another aspect women value. Society places enormous pressure on women to fight aging, to remain youthful and attractive, to maintain their appeal to men. Women in relationships often feel this pressure acutely, worrying about whether their partners will still find them attractive as they age. Women living alone can let go of this anxiety. They can age naturally. They can focus on health and vitality rather than appearance. They can embrace the wisdom and freedom that comes with age, without constantly worrying about their desirability to potential partners. Many women also report that living alone has made them more self-reliant and capable. When you live with a partner, it's easy to divide tasks and rely on each other. Women living alone have to handle everything themselves. They learn to fix things, manage finances, make decisions, solve problems, and handle crises on their own. This builds competence and confidence. Many women describe feeling stronger and more capable than they ever have, which itself is deeply satisfying. Finally, there's something that might be called existential freedom. Women living alone are free to define their own meaning and purpose. They're not living someone else's dream or following someone else's plan. They get to decide what matters to them, what they want their lives to be about, what legacy they want to leave. This existential autonomy, the freedom to create meaning on one's own terms, is perhaps the deepest benefit of all. It's the freedom to live an authentic life, to be true to oneself, to follow one's own path, wherever it leads. All of these factors combine to create conditions where many women genuinely thrive. They're not making do, they're not settling, they're not waiting for their real life to begin. They're living fully, richly, joyfully in the life they have. They've discovered that they don't need a relationship to be happy, fulfilled, or complete. They already are those things, all on their own. The challenges and how women navigate them. Of course, living alone isn't all freedom and self-discovery. It comes with genuine challenges, and it's important to acknowledge these honestly. The difference is that women who thrive alone have learned to navigate these challenges rather than being defeated by them. Understanding both the challenges and the strategies for managing them provides a balanced picture. Loneliness is the challenge most people assume is overwhelming for women living alone. And yes, loneliness can be real, but it's important to understand what loneliness actually is and isn't. Loneliness is not the same as being alone. Loneliness is the gap between the social connection you want and the social connection you have. You can feel lonely in a crowded room. You can feel lonely in a marriage. Being physically alone doesn't automatically create loneliness. Many women living alone report rarely feeling lonely because they've cultivated rich social lives. They have friends. They have family. They have communities. They have meaningful connections. They're alone in their homes but connected in their lives. That said, there are moments when living alone does bring loneliness. Coming home to an empty house after a hard day, being sick with no one to bring you soup, having exciting news with no one there to immediately share it with, facing challenges without a built-in support person. These moments are real, and women who live alone have developed strategies for navigating them. They build strong friend networks they can call on. They join communities where they feel belonging. They get comfortable reaching out for help when they need it. They develop relationships with neighbors. They participate in regular activities that provide consistent social contact. They use technology to stay connected. They adopt pets. They recognize when loneliness is creeping in and take active steps to address it. Some women also reframe their understanding of solitude. Rather than seeing time alone as loneliness, they see it as valuable solitude, as time for rest, reflection, and restoration. They learn to enjoy their own company. They become comfortable with silence and stillness. This doesn't mean they never feel lonely, but they've reduced the frequency by changing their relationship with aloneness. Financial challenges are real for many single women, particularly older women. Single-income households have less total income than dual-income households. Women still earn less than men on average. Older women may be retired or working part-time. The cost of living keeps rising. Housing, healthcare, and other necessities consume a larger percentage of income when you're supporting yourself alone. These are legitimate concerns. Women navigating this challenge prioritize financial literacy. They learn to budget, invest, and plan. They live within their means. They may downsize their homes. They find ways to reduce expenses. They sometimes take on roommates. They work longer than planned. They're strategic about health care and insurance. They build emergency funds. They seek community resources. It's not always easy, but women find ways to make it work. Practical challenges also exist. When something breaks, you have to fix it yourself or pay someone to fix it. When you're sick, you have to take care of yourself. When you need help moving furniture or reaching something high or carrying something heavy, you have to figure it out. These practical challenges of managing a household alone can be daunting, especially for women who were raised to believe they needed a man for these things. But women rise to these challenges. They learn skills. They hire help when needed. They ask friends for assistance. They discover they're more capable than they thought. Many women describe feeling pride in their ability to handle things themselves. The social pressure and judgment from others is a challenge that's harder to manage because it's external. You can control your own mindset, but you can't control how others perceive you. Women living alone face constant questions, unsolicited advice, pitying looks, and judgment. Family members may pressure them to date. Friends may try to set them up. Strangers may make assumptions. This external pressure can be exhausting. Women cope by setting boundaries. They refuse to engage with questions they find intrusive. They surround themselves with people who respect their choices. They limit time with family members who can't stop commenting on their relationship status. They develop thick skin. They learn not to internalize others' judgments. They find communities of other single women where they feel understood and accepted. Dating challenges exist for women who do want to eventually find a partner. The older women get, the smaller the dating pool becomes. Many men their age prefer younger women. Dating apps can be discouraging. Meeting people organically is difficult. The energy required to date can feel like more trouble than it's worth. Some women navigate this by being very selective, dating only when they meet someone who genuinely excites them rather than dating for the sake of finding someone. Others decide that dating isn't worth the effort and consciously choose permanent singleness. Others take breaks from dating and focus on other areas of life. There's no one right approach, but women figure out what works for them. Health concerns become more prominent as women age. Who will take care of you if you get sick? Who will advocate for you in medical situations? Who will help if you become less able to care for yourself? These are legitimate concerns that women think about. They plan ahead. They make sure they have healthcare proxies and advanced directives in place. They build relationships with neighbors and friends who can check in on them. They stay as healthy as possible to reduce the risk of serious illness. They research community resources and care options. They save money for future care needs. They may move closer to family members or into senior communities as they age. They face these questions head-on rather than ignoring them. The lack of a built-in companion for activities can be a challenge. Going to movies, restaurants, events, or trips alone can feel uncomfortable, especially in a culture that assumes coupledom. Women navigate this by getting comfortable doing things alone, by finding groups for activities they enjoy, by inviting friends to join them, or by simply accepting that some things are more fun with company, and that's okay. Many women report that once they got over the initial discomfort, they actually enjoy solo activities. They can focus fully on their experience without having to manage someone else's needs or preferences. The emotional challenge of going against social expectations is real. Even women who are happy living alone sometimes struggle with feelings that they should want a relationship, that something is wrong with them for being content alone, that they're missing out on something essential. These feelings aren't always based on their actual experience, but on internalized messages about what women's lives should look like. Women work through this by examining where these beliefs come from, by questioning whether they actually align with their own values and experiences, by connecting with other women who validate their choices, and by continuously reminding themselves that their happiness and well-being are what matter, not meeting society's expectations. Grief is a challenge for women who didn't choose singleness, who lost partners to death or divorce, and are living alone not by preference but by circumstance. The challenge here is different. It's not about navigating a chosen lifestyle, but about rebuilding after loss. Women in this situation go through a grief process. They honor what they've lost. They allow themselves to feel sadness, anger, or whatever emotions arise. They seek support through therapy, grief groups, or friends. They slowly rebuild their lives. They rediscover themselves. Many of these women ultimately come to appreciate aspects of living alone, even though they wouldn't have chosen this path. They learn that they can survive what they thought would destroy them. They find unexpected strength and resilience. The challenge of feeling invisible as an older single woman is real in a culture that values women primarily for youth and beauty and relationship to men. Older single women often report feeling unseen, ignored, dismissed. This can be painful. Women combat this by finding communities where they are seen and valued, by valuing themselves regardless of external validation, by focusing on substance over appearance, by recognizing that the problem is societal ageism and sexism rather than anything wrong with them, and by building lives so rich and satisfying that they care less about being visible to strangers. Safety concerns exist for women living alone. This is another challenge that's real but often exaggerated. Women living alone take practical precautions. They have good locks. They may have security systems. They get to know neighbors. They're aware of their surroundings. They trust their instincts. But they also recognize that the statistics show they're safer living alone than living with male partners, which challenges the narrative that women need men for physical protection. The challenge of making all decisions alone can be both freeing and burdensome. It's wonderful to have full autonomy, but sometimes you want to talk through decisions with someone, to get another perspective, to share the weight of choices. Women address this by cultivating relationships where they can process decisions, by seeking advice from trusted friends or family when needed, by giving themselves permission to make mistakes since they're the only ones affected, and by developing confidence in their own decision-making over time. Existential challenges arise too. Questions about meaning and purpose. What's my life about? What legacy will I leave? Who will remember me? These questions face everyone, but they can feel more acute for women living alone without the built-in meaning that family roles provide. Women grapple with these questions by defining purpose on their own terms, by contributing to communities, by pursuing meaningful work or volunteering, by creating art or writing, by investing in relationships with nieces, nephews, or young people they mentor, by recognizing that meaning is something we create rather than something we find, and by building lives that reflect their values regardless of traditional markers of significance. All of these challenges are real, but they're not insurmountable. Women living alone aren't pretending challenges don't exist. They're acknowledging them and finding ways to navigate them. They're building lives that work despite and sometimes because of these challenges. They're demonstrating that having challenges doesn't mean having a lesser life. Every life path has challenges. The question is whether the benefits outweigh the difficulties, and for many women living alone, they absolutely do. The different paths to living alone. It's important to recognize that women living alone arrive at this life through many different paths, and these paths shape their experience. Understanding the different trajectories helps us see the diversity within this demographic and avoid treating all single older women as a monolithic group. Some women never married. They're the lifelong singles, the women who moved through young adulthood, middle age, and into older age without ever partnering. Their reasons vary. Some dated but never found the right person. Some were focused on education and career during the years when peers were pairing off and simply never prioritized romance. Some had relationships that didn't lead to marriage. Some consciously chose singleness early on. Some struggled with intimacy or trust. Some are asexual or aromantic and never had interest in romantic relationships. Some are lesbian or bisexual and came of age in times when being openly queer wasn't safe, which limited their options. Each of these women has a unique story, but what they share is a life built without ever relying on a partner. Never married women often have a different experience than women who divorced or became widows. They've been independent their entire adult lives. They never learned to compromise on household decisions. They never merged finances. They never had to navigate the challenges of partnership. For some, this means they're exceptionally skilled at living alone. It's all they've known. They've built robust support systems and know how to meet their own needs. For others, it can mean wondering what they missed, curiosity about what partnership might have been like, or occasional loneliness for something they never experienced. But many never married older women express contentment with their paths. They don't feel they missed out. They feel they've lived authentic lives true to themselves. Then there are divorced women. These women were married, sometimes for many years, and then the marriage ended. Divorce represents a particular kind of transition, one that's often painful and difficult, but also potentially liberating. Many divorced women describe their marriages as having been unfulfilling, exhausting, or even harmful. The decision to divorce or the experience of being divorced is often accompanied by grief, anger, relief, fear, and a complex mix of emotions. But then comes the rebuilding. Divorced women have to rediscover who they are outside of marriage. They have to learn to live alone after years of living with a partner. Many describe this transition as challenging, but ultimately transformative. They discover that they're stronger than they knew. They reconnect with themselves. They build lives that reflect their preferences rather than compromises. Many divorced women say they're happier now than they ever were in their marriages. The experience of divorced women varies significantly depending on circumstances. Women who chose to leave bad marriages often feel relief and empowerment. Women who were left by partners they still loved face a different challenge of accepting unwanted singleness. Women who went through contentious divorces carry different wounds than women who divorced amicably. Women with children navigate co-parenting and the ways divorce affects family dynamics. Women who divorced later in life face different challenges than women who divorced in their 30s or 40s. Despite this diversity, many divorced women share a common realization. They're okay. They survived what they feared might destroy them. They rebuilt their lives. They're living proof that women don't need marriage to have good lives. Widows represent another distinct group. These women had partnerships that ended not by choice, but by death. Widowhood brings profound grief. The loss of a life partner, especially after a long marriage, is one of life's most difficult experiences. Widows go through a mourning process that can last years. They have to rebuild identity and daily life without the person who was central to both. For some widows, this loss remains a defining feature of their lives. They identify primarily as widows. Their lives are organized around the absence of their partners. They may maintain homes as shrines. They may resist change. They may struggle to imagine futures without their spouses. Other widows go through a different process. After the initial grief, they begin to rebuild. They discover that they can survive alone. They may even discover unexpected benefits to living alone. Some widows report feeling guilty about this, feeling like they're betraying their late partners by finding happiness or even relief in widowhood. But research shows that many widows, especially those whose marriages involved significant caregiving, do experience relief alongside grief. They're sad their partners died, but they also recognize that they're free from the exhaustion of caregiving, free from the constraints of marriage, free to rediscover themselves. This complex emotional landscape is normal and healthy, though it's rarely discussed openly. Some women cycle between relationship and singleness throughout their lives. They may have been married, divorced, remarried, divorced again, or they've had a series of long-term relationships with single periods in between. These women have experience with both partnered and single life. They know the benefits and challenges of both. Many of them consciously choose singleness after years of cycling, deciding that they prefer it. They've tried partnership multiple times and they've concluded that it's not for them. At least not right now, or perhaps not ever again. Their choice is informed by experience, which gives it a different quality than the choice of someone who's never partnered. Some women are single by circumstance more than choice. They would prefer to be in relationships, but for various reasons, they haven't found partners. Maybe they live in areas with limited dating pools. Maybe they have health issues or disabilities that make dating difficult. Maybe they're caring for aging parents and don't have time or energy for relationships. Maybe they're dealing with trauma that affects their ability to be intimate. These women are living alone, not because they've rejected relationships, but because circumstances haven't aligned to make partnership possible. Their experience of singleness may be more tinged with longing or sadness than the experience of women who actively prefer being alone. Some women are consciously, actively choosing singleness as a positive life path. They're not single because they haven't found the right person or because relationships didn't work out. They're single because they want to be. They've examined their options and decided that being single serves them better than being partnered. This is a relatively new phenomenon historically. In previous generations, women didn't really have the option to choose singleness. Social, economic, and cultural pressures pushed virtually all women toward marriage. But today, with greater financial independence, social acceptance, and freedom, some women are making this deliberate choice. They're opting out of the relationship escalator entirely. They're designing lives that don't include romantic partnership, and they're thriving. Lesbian and bisexual women face unique circumstances in navigating singleness. Older LGBTQ women came of age in times of significant homophobia. Some were closeted their entire lives. Some were in heterosexual marriages while closeted. Some came out later in life after marriages ended. The dating pool for lesbian and bisexual women, especially older ones, is smaller than for heterosexual women. LGBTQ communities may be less accessible in some areas. These women may face both the stigma of being single and the stigma of being queer. Yet many LGBTQ women have built rich, vibrant lives. They've created chosen families. They've connected with queer communities. They've defined relationships and family on their own terms, outside heteronormative structures. Women of different cultural backgrounds also experience singleness differently. In some cultures, being an unmarried older woman carries even heavier stigma than in mainstream Western culture. Family pressure may be intense. Women may face ostracism or be treated as shameful. At the same time, some cultures have traditions of respected single women, such as maiden aunts who play important family roles. Cultural context shapes both the external pressures women face and the internal beliefs they hold about their singleness. Socioeconomic factors also create different experiences. Wealthy single women have resources that make living alone easier. They can afford comfortable housing, healthcare, hired help, travel, and activities that enrich their lives. Poor or working-class single women face more significant financial challenges. They may struggle with basic necessities. They may have to work multiple jobs. They may lack access to healthcare or live in unsafe neighborhoods. Economic justice issues intersect with gender issues in ways that profoundly affect women's experiences of living alone. Recognition that all these different paths exist is important. It prevents us from making broad generalizations about women living alone. It helps us see nuance. Some women living alone are delighted. Some are content. Some are ambivalent. Some are struggling. Some changed their minds over time. Their experiences are shaped by their individual circumstances, their personalities, their resources, their relationships, their health, their beliefs, their histories. There's no single story of women living alone. There are millions of stories, each unique and valid. What these diverse paths show is that women living alone are not a problem to be solved. They're individuals navigating their lives as best they can, just like everyone else. Some are thriving, some are surviving. Most are somewhere in between, with good days and hard days, just like people in any life circumstance. The goal shouldn't be to get all these women partnered. The goal should be to support all women in living the lives they choose, whether single or partnered, and to create a society where both are equally respected and valid options. What this reveals about relationships and gender. The phenomenon of older women living alone and being happy reveals uncomfortable truths about relationships and gender dynamics. If women are happier single, what does that tell us about marriage and partnership? If women don't need men to be fulfilled, what does that mean for traditional gender roles? Let's explore these deeper implications. First, it challenges the fundamental narrative that women are naturally partnering creatures who need romantic relationships to be complete. This narrative has been used throughout history to justify pushing women toward marriage, to suggest that women who don't marry are defying nature, to frame female independence as unnatural. But if women are naturally happier alone, then the narrative collapses. Maybe women aren't biologically driven toward partnership. Maybe that drive, to the extent it exists, has been socially constructed and reinforced rather than innate. Maybe what women actually need is autonomy, security, connection, purpose, and community, none of which requires a romantic partner. It also raises questions about whether traditional marriage and partnership structures actually serve women's needs and interests. For most of history, marriage was an economic arrangement that benefited men more than women. Women provided domestic labor, sexual access, childcare, and emotional support. Men provided financial support and social status. Women gave up their names, their legal identities, their property, their autonomy. This was not an equal exchange. Even today, research shows women do significantly more household labor and emotional labor than male partners, even when both work full-time. Women sacrifice more of their careers, earn less over their lifetimes, and often end up financially vulnerable in old age. If marriage is such an unequal arrangement, it's not surprising that many women are happier without it. The fact that women thrive alone also challenges the myth that women are more emotional, more relationship-focused, and less capable of independence than men. These stereotypes have been used to justify treating women as dependents, as needing male protection and guidance. But the evidence shows the opposite. Women living alone develop robust social networks, emotional resilience, and practical competence. They handle their own emotions without falling apart. They solve their own problems. They take care of themselves. Meanwhile, research shows that men struggle more with living alone, have fewer close friendships, have difficulty with emotional regulation, and depend heavily on female partners for emotional support and social connection. If anything, the evidence suggests men need relationships more than women do, which directly contradicts gender stereotypes. This has profound implications for how we think about masculinity and men's development. If men benefit more from relationships but are socialized to be independent and emotionally self-sufficient, there's a mismatch. Men are told they should be stoic, strong, unemotional. They're discouraged from forming deep friendships or seeking emotional support from anyone but romantic partners. Then, when those relationships end through divorce or death, men are devastated. They don't have the skills or social networks to cope. Women, on the other hand, are socialized to be emotionally expressive, to maintain friendships, to seek support. These skills serve them well in both relationships and singleness. The irony is that the gender stereotypes are backwards. Women are told they need relationships, but they're actually quite capable alone. Men are told they should be independent, but they actually need relationships more. The happiness of single women also challenges the narrative that women's primary purpose is caregiving. Women are socialized from birth to take care of others, to nurture, to put others' needs first, to find fulfillment in caring for partners, children, aging parents. This messaging is so strong that many women feel guilty when they're not actively caring for someone. But women living alone demonstrate that women can find fulfillment in other ways, in creative pursuits, in intellectual work, in friendships, in community contribution, in self-development, in countless forms of meaning-making that don't involve caregiving. Women don't need to be mothers, wives, or caretakers to have worthwhile lives. They can be fully realized people with their own goals, interests, and purposes. This connects to larger questions about women's labor and how it's valued. Women's domestic and emotional labor within relationships has always been undervalued because it's invisible and unpaid. Women cook, clean, manage households, raise children, provide emotional support, maintain family relationships, and do countless other tasks that keep life running. This labor is essential. Without it, society would collapse. Yet it's seen as less valuable than paid work in the public sphere. When women live alone, they still do this labor, but only for themselves. They're not subsidizing a partner's life by providing services he doesn't reciprocate. In this sense, women living alone are refusing to provide unpaid labor to men, which is a quiet form of resistance to gender inequality. The phenomenon of happy single women also reveals cracks in the romantic love ideology that dominates our culture. We're taught that romantic love is the highest form of human connection, that finding your soulmate is life's greatest achievement, that true happiness comes from romantic partnership. This narrative sells movies, books, songs, weddings, diamonds, and countless other products. It's deeply embedded in our collective imagination. But if women can be deeply happy and fulfilled without romantic love, the ideology doesn't hold. Maybe romantic love is one form of connection among many. Maybe it's not essential. Maybe it's been overvalued at the expense of other forms of love and connection that are just as important, such as friendship, community, family, or self-love. It also challenges us to think about what we mean by success and what constitutes a life well lived. Traditional markers of success for women have been marriage, children, maintaining a beautiful home, and supporting a successful husband. But women living alone are redefining success. Success might be having deep friendships. It might be financial independence. It might be creative achievement. It might be personal growth. It might be freedom to live authentically. It might be contributing to community. It might be peace and contentment. When we expand our definition of success beyond traditional markers, we see that many women living alone are extraordinarily successful. They're just not successful in the ways society has traditionally measured women's worth. The happiness of single women raises uncomfortable questions about whether women have been socialized to desire things that don't actually serve them. From childhood, girls receive messages that their value comes from being attractive to men, that their goal should be to find a husband, that their role is to support others. What if all this socialization has pushed women toward lives that don't actually make them happy? What if women have been taught to want things they don't really want or need? What if the lives women are told they should want, the lives of wives and mothers, are actually less fulfilling than the lives women might create if they followed their own desires and instincts? This connects to a broader feminist critique of gender socialization and patriarchal structures. Patriarchy benefits from women being in relationships with men. It ensures women's domestic and reproductive labor. It maintains men's power and privilege. It perpetuates gender hierarchy. When women live independently outside these structures, they're not contributing to the system in the expected ways. They're not available for men's sexual access. They're not providing unpaid domestic labor. They're not raising the next generation. They're not bolstering men's egos or status. In this sense, women living alone represent a threat to patriarchal arrangements. The phenomenon also challenges relationship escalator assumptions, the idea that relationships should follow a standard progression from dating to exclusivity to cohabitation to marriage to children. This escalator is presented as natural and inevitable, but it's actually a social construction. Some people don't want to get on the escalator at all. Some want to ride it partway and then get off. Some want relationships that look completely different from the standard model. Women living alone, especially those who are choosing this consciously, are rejecting the relationship escalator. They're saying there are other valid ways to organize a life. This opens up possibilities for everyone to think more critically about whether the relationship escalator serves their needs or whether they're just following it because it's expected. It raises questions about what we owe each other in relationships and what healthy partnership actually looks like. If women are happier alone, maybe many relationships are not healthy. Maybe they're not truly partnerships, but arrangements where women give more than they get. Maybe we need to radically rethink how relationships work. Maybe relationships should only exist when they genuinely add to both partners' lives, when both people are happier together than apart, when there's true equality and reciprocity. Maybe we should stop seeing relationships as obligatory and start seeing them as optional enhancements to already complete lives. The happiness of single women also invites men to examine their role in relationships. If women are happier without men, men need to ask why. What are men doing or not doing that makes relationships with them less desirable? Are men doing their share of emotional labor? Are they good communicators? Are they emotionally available? Are they pulling their weight domestically? Are they respectful? Are they supporting women's autonomy and growth? Or are they expecting women to perform traditional roles while not reciprocating? These are uncomfortable questions, but they're necessary ones. Men who want to be in relationships need to make those relationships worthwhile for women. They need to be partners worth having. This leads to a vision of what relationships could be if they were truly egalitarian and mutually beneficial. Imagine relationships where both partners are complete individuals who choose to share their lives because it enriches both of them, where domestic and emotional labor is shared equally, where both people's needs, goals, and growth are prioritized, where autonomy is maintained even within partnership, where both people are genuinely happier together than they would be apart. If relationships looked like this, more women might choose them. The fact that women are increasingly choosing singleness suggests that too many relationships don't look like this. They're not good enough deals for women, and rather than settling for bad deals, women are walking away. All of this points to the need for social change. We need to value women for more than their relationships with men. We need to respect diverse life paths. We need to dismantle stigma against singleness. We need to create economic systems where single women can thrive financially. We need to challenge gender roles and expectations that push women toward partnerships that don't serve them. We need to teach boys and men to be better partners. We need to reimagine what relationships can be. The happiness of women living alone is not a problem, it's a signal. It's telling us that something about how we've organized gender and relationships isn't working, at least not for women. And it's inviting us to imagine and create better alternatives. Advice for women considering or living this life. If you're a woman considering living alone, or if you're already living alone and navigating the challenges, what can you take from all of this? Let's explore practical wisdom and perspective that might help you thrive. First, give yourself permission. Permission to want this life. Permission to choose yourself. Permission to prioritize your own needs and happiness. Permission to live outside traditional scripts. Women are socialized to seek permission, to make sure everyone is okay with our choices, to accommodate others' feelings about our lives. But this is your one life. You don't need anyone's permission to live it how you choose. Not your parents' permission, not your friends' permission, not society's permission. If living alone is what serves you, you're allowed to choose it. You don't owe anyone an explanation or justification. Examine your actual feelings versus internalized messages. Do you actually want a relationship, or do you feel like you should want one? Do you actually feel lonely, or do you feel like you're supposed to feel lonely? This distinction matters. Many women discover that when they really dig deep, they're quite happy alone. The discomfort they feel isn't about their actual life, but about the gap between their life and what they've been told their life should look like. If you're genuinely happy alone but struggling with feeling like you shouldn't be, the work is internal. It's about challenging those internalized messages and giving yourself permission to trust your own experience. Build a strong support system. This is crucial. The stereotype of the isolated single woman becomes reality only if you allow it. Invest in friendships. Make them a priority. Schedule regular time with friends. Be the person who initiates plans. Show up for your friends' lives. Let them show up for yours. Deepen existing friendships. Create new ones. Join groups, clubs, organizations. Find communities where you belong. Stay connected with family members you're close to. Cultivate relationships with neighbors. Create a network of people who care about you and who you care about. Having strong social connections makes living alone completely different from being isolated. Get comfortable asking for help. Independence doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means having the skills and confidence to manage your life, but it also means knowing when to reach out. Need help moving furniture? Ask a friend. Need advice on a major decision? Talk it through with someone you trust. Feeling lonely? Call someone. Struggling with something? Seek support. Don't suffer silently because you think you should be able to handle everything alone. True strength includes knowing your limits and being willing to be vulnerable. Create a home you love. Your space should reflect you and bring you joy. Decorate however you want. Create comfortable spaces. Make it beautiful in whatever way feels beautiful to you. Your home is your sanctuary. Make it somewhere you genuinely want to be. Don't wait to create a lovely home until you have a partner. Do it now. You deserve to live in a space that nurtures you. Develop financial literacy and security. Take control of your finances. Learn to budget, save, and invest. Plan for your future. Build an emergency fund. Think about retirement. Make sure you have adequate insurance. Be strategic about major financial decisions. Financial security reduces stress and increases options. It gives you freedom and peace of mind. If you're not confident with finances, take a class or work with a financial advisor. This is an area where knowledge is power. Pursue meaning and purpose. What makes your life meaningful? What do you care about? What impact do you want to have? Pursue these things. Your life doesn't need to revolve around relationships or family to be meaningful. It can be meaningful because of your work, your creativity, your friendships, your contributions to community, your personal growth, your hobbies, your learning, your experiences, your connection to something larger than yourself. Define purpose on your own terms and build your life around it. Practice self-care without guilt. Prioritize your health, exercise, eat well, sleep enough, go to the doctor, take care of your mental health, do things that bring you joy, rest when you need rest, play, have adventures, treat yourself kindly. You deserve care and attention, and you don't need to be caring for someone else to deserve it. Taking care of yourself is not selfish, it's essential. Stay engaged with life. Don't let your life become small. Keep trying new things. Stay curious. Learn, grow, challenge yourself. Have goals. Work toward things. Stay connected to the world beyond your immediate environment. Travel if you can. Read. Take classes, engage with ideas, meet new people. Your life should feel expansive, not constricted. Living alone doesn't mean living a small, timid life. It can mean living a big, bold, adventurous life. Develop skills and competence. Learn to fix things. Become good at making decisions. Build your ability to solve problems. Develop expertise in managing your household, your finances, your health. This builds confidence. It makes you feel capable. It reduces anxiety about depending on others. You don't need to be an expert at everything, but basic competence across domains of life serves you well. Be honest with yourself about what you're feeling. If you're genuinely struggling, acknowledge it. Seek help. Talk to a therapist. Join a support group. Don't pretend everything is fine if it's not. At the same time, if you're genuinely happy, acknowledge that too. Don't let others convince you that you should be unhappy when you're not. Trust your own experience. Be honest about your feelings, whatever they are. Set boundaries with others. You will face questions, judgments, and unsolicited advice. You get to decide how to respond. You can ignore questions. You can change the subject. You can say firmly that your relationship status is not up for discussion. You can limit contact with people who can't respect your boundaries. You don't owe anyone access to your private life. Protect your peace. Spend time with people who respect and support you. Challenge the narrative when you hear it. When someone says something that stigmatizes single women, you can push back. When media portrays single women as tragic, you can critique it. When you hear yourself internalizing negative messages, you can question them. Be part of changing the conversation. Speak openly about your positive experiences living alone. Help create a cultural shift by being vocal about the value and validity of single women's lives. Stay open to change. Just because you're happy living alone now doesn't mean you must live alone forever. Just because you choose this path doesn't mean you can never change your mind. Life is long, circumstances change, you change. Stay open to all possibilities. Don't lock yourself into any particular identity or path. Follow your truth as it evolves. Connect with other single women. Find community with women living similar lives. This can be enormously validating and supportive, whether it's online communities, local groups, or individual friendships. Connecting with women who understand your life reduces isolation and provides solidarity. You can share experiences, advice, and support. You can celebrate the joys and navigate the challenges together. Reframe how you think about singleness. Instead of seeing it as a deficit state, as the absence of a relationship, see it as a complete life on its own terms. You're not waiting for your life to start. This is your life. You're not half of a potential couple. You're a whole person. You're not missing something. You have something valuable. You have freedom, autonomy, independence, and the opportunity to build a life fully aligned with your authentic self. That's not a consolation prize, that's a gift. Practice gratitude for what you have. Appreciate your freedom, your peace, your space, your ability to make choices, your connections with friends and community, the ways your life works for you. Gratitude shifts perspective. It helps you focus on what's present rather than what's absent. It cultivates contentment. Make gratitude a regular practice. If you want a relationship, be clear about what you actually want. Don't date because you're supposed to. Don't settle because you think you should have a partner. Know what a relationship would need to add to your life. Be selective. Remember that being alone is better than being in a bad relationship. Don't give up your happy single life unless you find a partnership that genuinely enhances it. You're not desperate. You're not incomplete. You're already whole. A relationship should add to your wholeness, not complete it. Remember that your worth is not determined by your relationship status. You are valuable as you are. Your life has meaning and significance regardless of whether you have a partner. You contribute to the world. You matter to people. You have gifts to offer. Your relationships, work, creativity, kindness, and presence in the world all have value. Don't internalize the message that you're less than or missing out. You're not. You're a complete, valuable person living a valid life. Finally, trust yourself. You know what you need better than anyone else does. You know what makes you happy. You know what feels right for your life. Trust that knowledge, trust your choices, trust your path. You don't need to justify yourself to anyone. Live your life with confidence and authenticity. That's the greatest gift you can give yourself. A broader vision, reimagining life and relationships. Let's zoom out and think about what the phenomenon of happy single women invites us to imagine for the future. What if we took seriously the idea that women don't need men to be happy? What if we built a society that truly supported diverse life paths? What might that look like? First, it would mean genuinely valuing multiple paths to a meaningful life. Right now, despite lip service to the contrary, our society still treats marriage and family as the default, the normal, the successful path, with everything else being second best. A truly pluralistic society would treat singleness, partnership, traditional marriage, non-traditional relationships, chosen family, and all other arrangements as equally valid. Children would grow up seeing many ways to build a good life. Adults would feel free to choose the path that actually fits them rather than the path that's expected. We would measure success by well-being, fulfillment, contribution, and authenticity rather than by relationship status. It would mean creating economic systems that don't penalize single people. Right now, tax structures, healthcare systems, housing markets, and many other economic features advantage married couples. Single people pay more in taxes. They pay more for healthcare. They have difficulty accessing mortgages. They face higher living costs per person. A fair system would be neutral about relationship status. It would ensure that single people can achieve the same financial security and standard of living as partnered people. This might include changing tax structures, creating affordable housing options for single people, ensuring healthcare isn't tied to family structures, and building social safety nets that support all adults regardless of relationship status. It would mean reimagining community and care. Currently, we assume that partners and family members are responsible for caring for each other, with everyone else being outsiders. This creates isolation for people living alone and burden for people doing unpaid care work. Alternative models exist. We could create more communal living arrangements where people share resources and care while maintaining independence. We could build strong community-based care systems. We could normalize asking for and offering help outside family structures. We could create intentional communities of people who support each other. We could ensure that elderly people who live alone have robust support systems and aren't isolated. We could make community connection and mutual aid the norm rather than the exception. It would mean completely rethinking how we educate young people about relationships and life paths. Currently, relationship education, when it exists at all, assumes everyone will be in romantic relationships and teaches skills for those relationships. But what if we taught young people to build meaningful lives regardless of relationship status? What if we taught them to create strong friendships, to find purpose and meaning, to be financially independent, to live authentically, to make conscious choices about how they want to live? What if we exposed them to diverse life paths and helped them think critically about what they actually want rather than what they're supposed to want? What if we taught boys and girls equally to be competent, independent, emotionally literate, and capable of caring for themselves and others? It would mean transforming how we think about and practice relationships. If we truly accepted that relationships are optional enhancements rather than necessities, relationships would have to be worth it. partners would have to bring genuine value to each other's lives. Relationships would need to be egalitarian, mutually supportive, and fulfilling for everyone involved. We would stop tolerating mediocre or harmful relationships. We would stop pressuring people to stay in relationships that don't serve them. We would normalize ending relationships that aren't working rather than treating divorce or breakups as failures. We would create new models of relationship that don't follow the traditional escalator. We would experiment with different structures and arrangements. Relationships would be diverse, creative, and genuinely chosen rather than obligatory. It would mean dismantling gendered expectations about caregiving and domestic labor. We would raise all children to be capable of taking care of themselves and others. We would stop gendering care work. We would ensure that care work is valued and fairly distributed. We would create systems that support caregivers. We would recognize that everyone needs care at various times, and everyone can provide care. We would stop expecting women to be the default caregivers and men to be incompetent at care. This would benefit everyone. It would free women from obligatory care roles. It would allow men to develop their capacity for care and connection. It would mean challenging ageism and redefining aging. We would stop treating older adults as obsolete or pitiable. We would recognize the value, wisdom, and contributions of older people. We would create age-friendly communities. We would ensure older adults have opportunities for engagement, growth, and contribution. We would stop marketing anti-aging products that communicate that getting older is terrible. We would celebrate the freedom and wisdom that can come with age. We would recognize that older single women are not tragic figures but fully realized people living complete lives. It would mean addressing mental health and loneliness in ways that don't assume romantic relationships are the solution. Loneliness is a real public health issue, but the solution isn't just getting lonely people into romantic relationships. The solution is building connected communities, creating spaces for meaningful interaction, combating isolation, supporting strong friendships, and addressing the social conditions that create loneliness. We need to understand that you can be lonely in a relationship and connected while single. We need to help all people build rich social lives regardless of relationship status. It would mean changing media representations. We need stories of single women, especially older single women, that show them as complex, full people living meaningful lives. Not tragic, not desperate, not bitter, just living, having adventures, pursuing passions, building friendships, facing challenges, growing, being human. We need representations that normalize singleness as one valid way to live. We need to stop making every story arc end with coupling as if that's the only possible happy ending. We need to show diverse paths to fulfillment. It would mean rethinking inheritance, legacy, and family structures. Currently, inheritance typically passes through bloodlines. Family is defined by marriage and biology. People without children are seen as ending their line, as leaving no legacy. But we could imagine broader definitions: chosen family, mentorship, community contribution, creative and intellectual legacies, ways of passing on resources, knowledge, and values that don't depend on having children or being married, ways of being remembered and having impact that don't require traditional family structures. It would mean creating support systems specifically for single people. Just as there are resources for couples and families, we need resources for singles, financial planning for single people, healthcare navigation, community building, practical support, legal protections, housing options, advocacy, recognition that single people have unique needs and challenges that deserve attention and support. Not pity or fixing, but genuine support in living chosen lives well. It would mean examining and dismantling the industries that profit from making women feel inadequate without men. The wedding industry, the diamond industry, the self-help industry promising to help women find and keep men, the beauty industry marketing products to make women more attractive to men, the plastic surgery industry, the dating app industry. So many industries profit from women feeling like they need to attract and keep male partners. If women truly felt complete without men, many of these industries would lose their power. Recognizing this helps us see how the stigma against single women is economically motivated. It would mean having honest conversations about sex and intimacy outside committed relationships. Many single women have active, satisfying sex lives. They may have casual partners, friends with benefits, or occasional hookups. They may use sex toys. They may be celibate by choice and content with that. We need to normalize conversations about sexuality that don't assume everyone is in a monogamous, committed relationship. We need to separate sex from relationship status. We need to recognize that people can have good sexual lives regardless of whether they're partnered. It would mean supporting women's financial independence and equality. When women can support themselves, they have the freedom to choose singleness. When women are economically dependent on men, they don't have real choice. True equality means women earning the same as men, having equal opportunities, not facing discrimination, and having economic security. This gives women genuine freedom to choose their life paths. Economic equality is foundational to women's freedom. It would mean reimagining what power and success look like. Currently, power is often associated with men, with marriage and family being women's realm. We need to recognize women as having power in all domains. We need to celebrate women's achievements regardless of relationship status. We need to recognize that a successful life can take many forms. We need to expand our definition of what it means to thrive. This benefits everyone by creating more possibilities for meaningful lives. All of this points toward a vision of a society that truly respects individual autonomy and supports diverse flourishing. Society that doesn't prescribe one path, but creates conditions for many paths. A society that treats relationships as options rather than requirements. A society that supports all people regardless of how they structure their personal lives, in living with dignity, security, connection, and meaning. This is not a society that devalues relationships or family. It's a society that values them without privileging them. It's a society where people in relationships choose them freely and experience them as genuinely enriching, and where people who choose other paths are equally supported and respected. Getting there requires change at every level. Individual change in how we think about our own lives and choices. Interpersonal change in how we treat and talk to single people. Cultural change in our narratives, representations, and values. Economic change in how resources are distributed. Political change in laws and policies. Institutional change in how organizations are structured. It requires all of us examining our assumptions and being willing to imagine and create something different. The happiness of single women is an invitation to this reimagining. It shows us that the old stories don't hold. It opens up space for new possibilities. What we do with that space is up to us. We've covered a lot of ground today, and if you're still with me, thank you. Let's bring this together. The truth about older women who live alone without a man is not the truth that society tells. It's not a story of tragedy, loneliness, and failure. It's not a cautionary tale. It's not something to pity or fix. The actual truth, supported by research and by the lived experiences of millions of women, is that many women living alone are happy, they're healthy, they're connected, they're fulfilled. They're living rich, meaningful lives that they've crafted according to their own values and desires. They're not waiting for their lives to begin. They're not incomplete. They're whole, and they're thriving. This truth challenges everything our culture has taught us about women, about relationships, about what makes a good life. It reveals that the stigma against single women is not based on reality, but on outdated beliefs, patriarchal structures, economic interests, and gender stereotypes. It shows that women don't need men to be happy. Some women genuinely prefer living alone. Many women who thought they needed relationships discovered they were happier without them. This doesn't mean relationships are bad or that no one should have them. It means relationships are not the universal key to happiness, especially not for women, especially not the unequal relationships that have been the norm throughout history. The phenomenon of happy single women invites us all to question assumptions, to examine our own lives honestly, to consider whether we're living according to our authentic desires or according to social scripts, to think about what we actually want and need rather than what we've been told we should want and need, to imagine different possibilities for how to structure our lives, our relationships, our communities, and our society, to create space for diverse paths to flourishing, to support people in living authentic lives, rather than pressuring them to conform to narrow norms. For women who are living alone or considering it, I hope this video has provided validation, perspective, and practical wisdom. Your life is valid. Your choices are legitimate. Your happiness matters. You are not broken, deficient, or failing. You are living your life on your own terms, and that is powerful. Build a life you love. Invest in connections that nourish you. Pursue meaning and purpose that resonates with you. Take care of yourself without guilt. Set boundaries with people who don't respect your choices. Trust yourself. You know what you need. You have permission to live accordingly. For people who are partnered, I hope this has provided food for thought about whether your relationships are genuinely mutual and fulfilling, or whether they're maintained out of habit, fear, or obligation. Ask yourself honestly, are you happier in your relationship than you would be alone? Is your partner happier with you than they would be alone? If the answer is yes, wonderful. Keep nurturing that relationship. If the answer is no or uncertain, that's information worth paying attention to. Make sure your relationships are worth it for everyone involved. For all of us, this is an invitation to expand our empathy and understanding. Single older women are not objects of pity. They're people living their lives. Treat them with respect. Don't ask invasive questions. Don't offer unsolicited advice. Don't make assumptions. Recognize that they may be perfectly happy. Celebrate their independence and autonomy. Examine your own biases. Challenge stigma when you see it. Be part of creating a culture that respects diverse life paths. The truth about older women who